Iran has once again managed to stay one step ahead of global restrictions, using deceptive flight paths and covert supply chains that baffle international watchdogs and defy even the toughest sanctions. According to a startling report by the Institute for National Security Studies, passenger planes operating as civilian airlines were secretly exploited to transport military equipment and weapons for the powerful Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Investigations suggest that Unit 190, a covert branch of Iran's elite Quds Force, orchestrated these smuggling operations, supplying Hezbollah in Lebanon, militia groups in Iraq, and even forces aligned with the Syrian regime. Intelligence agencies across the West have singled out Iran's aviation industry as the beating heart of its regional weapons supply network, revealing how commercial aviation has quietly become a key channel in Tehran's strategic military operations. What appear to be ordinary passenger airlines are, in reality, doubling as secret military carriers, turning the skies into a shadow battlefield where the distinction between civilian and state actions grows increasingly blurred. The connection between these airlines and Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps goes far beyond shared infrastructure and the convenient civilian cover they provide, revealing a deeply embedded relationship that ties commercial aviation directly into the regime's military and security apparatus. The report mapped out the entire operational architecture of this complex mechanism, showing in detail how each layer works and how different actors coordinate their roles across borders. It revealed that this structure relies heavily on a maze of front companies and shell firms. Iran quietly relies on a web of shell companies registered in opaque jurisdictions to secretly purchase critical aircraft parts, keeping its aging fleet alive while staying out of sight of sanctions monitors. These operations use layered ownership structures and even staged or fake emergency landings to disguise flight paths and conceal the aircraft's true destinations from international authorities. The network also employs rapid burst transfers, moving parts and assets in quick, concentrated waves to reduce the window of detection and overwhelm enforcement systems. Russia, China, and several aligned states or commercial actors step in to supply key components directly, ensuring a steady flow of parts despite formal international restrictions. Even states tasked with enforcing sanctions can be bypassed when shipments are routed through intricate corporate setups, exploiting loopholes, offshore registrations, and complex trade paperwork. Behind the scenes, shadow banking systems and discrete Chinese financial channels provide the money pipeline, quietly funding procurement and logistics for this extensive aviation network. As a result, an estimated 60% of Iran's civilian fleet has been grounded, forcing airlines to cannibalize existing planes for spare parts just to keep a fraction of aircraft in the air. With regulators kept in the dark and maintenance often done off the books, safety standards are heavily compromised, putting passengers at risk due to minimal oversight and chronic parts shortages. U.S. sanctions now stretch far beyond European borders, hitting every part of Iran's civil aviation ecosystem, from airlines and maintenance companies to brokers, insurers, and global suppliers linked to its fleet. These aviation sanctions are designed to stop any dual-use technology, civilian parts or systems that can also serve military purposes, from reaching regime forces and strengthening Iran's operational capabilities. Washington prohibits the sale, lease, maintenance, or transfer of aircraft and key aviation components to Iran, closing off legitimate channels that could otherwise support its airlines and logistics networks. Even indirect aircraft deals routed through intermediaries, front companies, or third-country brokers are treated as illegal under U.S. sanctions law, exposing participants worldwide to serious penalties. American rules also extend to many foreign-made products, imposing controls when they contain more than 1% U.S. origin content, and thereby pulling a vast share of the global aviation supply chain into the sanctions net. Equipment that relies on U.S. origin software is legally classified as American technology, even when it is engineered, assembled, or physically manufactured in facilities located abroad. Sanctions have severely restricted Iran's access to modern aircraft, critical parts, and cutting-edge systems, crippling its ability to upgrade, expand, or safely modernize its civilian aviation fleet. Yet Iran's vast territory, dispersed population, and ongoing military and strategic needs force the regime to keep aviation operations running, no matter the cost or the mounting technical challenges. After the 2015 nuclear deal was signed, Iran moved quickly to strike major purchase agreements for new Airbus aircraft, hoping to rapidly refresh its aging air fleet and normalize global aviation ties. By 2025, however, nearly 60% of Iran's registered passenger planes are grounded, sitting idle due to sanctions pressure, mechanical issues, and the chronic lack of certified spare parts. Today, Iran's civil air fleet averages around 28 years in age, more than double the global norm, making many of its aircraft far older and less efficient than those flown by most international carriers. With spare parts in short supply, Iranian airlines are often forced to cannibalize grounded planes, stripping them for usable components just to keep a smaller number of aircraft in the air. The absence of adequate insurance, proper regulatory oversight, and access to international safety regimes leaves Iranian airlines operating below basic global safety standards, increasing risks for every flight.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that you will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest news makers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the U.S. will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry guards.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HD videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.